So what is your number? Hey, Chris Zuiker with Media Options. Help companies to acquire the raw, unfiltered version of the brand, brokering some of the best domains on the planet. Check it out at MediaOptions.com. Check it out at ChrisZuiker.com. I do the daily podcast over there and my YouTube channel, which you're probably on. I do many videos, probably 1 or 2 a week, so check those out too. And my thought today, my video today is, what's your number? No, I'm not trying to pick you up. What I mean is, what is your number? What is the number that this domain name is worth to your brand? What is the number that acquiring the raw, unfiltered version of your domain is worth to your brand? Let me explain, okay? When I reach out on domain names, my number one objective is actually, the first thing is get it on a company's radar so they can even consider it, right? It's provide visibility, because many times companies don't even know a domain name is even available. They don't even know it's an option. And so is to get it on the radar. But the second thing, after we get a conversation going, and there is some interest in the company, let's say they have the right revenue, they have an online strategy that says that they want to dominate, and they relatively are looking to scale, then it's a good fit, right? So the next question then is, well, what's your number? Like, what is this worth to you? Now, this is, and let me backtrack here. So if I can get that number, then that's a successful call, right? I mean, if I can get a company to establish and think about, realistic about that number, not even that frame of mind. It's like, well, hey, Chris, this is, domain names are important. We're fine with the domain that we have. We're doing well. We're making money. And I'm like, I get it. But that's one of the biggest risks that you have to your brand as another brand comes in. Okay, so in the essence, domain names are about 3 key things, okay? I have the 7 dimensions to a domain name. You can go back and watch my videos on that. I talk about leadership, leverage, and scaling, but in the essence, they're about 3 main things, okay? Most of the domain names we broker. Now, these are more, I'm talking more branded domain names. And the first one is that it's about positioning. It's about both global positioning and it's about industry positioning. Now, what I mean by global positioning is that you own the global positioning for that keyword. What I mean by industry positioning is, how does your domain name position you in the industry against your competition? So, for instance, if your competition is all like they're all like raw domain names and raw brands, they own their essence, and you come in with a get something or try something, you end up looking like a perpetual startup forever. And so that's positioning, right? The second thing is it's about branding. It's about branding and marketing. Now, what I mean by that is are you capturing every single dollar that you invest into your brand? Okay, part of brand equity is that you're breathing life into the brand. Part of that breathing life into the brand is that you're investing money, right? You're investing money, you're investing time. Your employees are investing money and time through their communication efforts. You're investing money in marketing, and you're getting a certain return on that marketing. Well, that's like, in the essence, it's about capturing every single dollar because you're creating an effortless path for your customers. Then it's about scaling. It's about having the opportunity to scale. And as you go up in your marketing budget, you go from $100,000, you go to $1 million. Well, listen, different problems come about. Okay, when you go from $1 million, maybe $10 million in marketing, there's different problems. And it allows you the ability to scale, also to expand your product offering, because if you're limited, let's say, when Zen Payroll decided to expand their product offering, they rebranded to Gusto. And that was one of the comments that the founders had, is like, listen, it just pigeonholed us into this payroll. And although we could have expanded, we needed to rebrand. And that part of that rebranding process was to offer more services and solutions to our customers. Okay, that's all said and good, okay? But let me tell you a little story that'll kind of encapsulate this and have this make sense. So back in 2013, Kraken rum launched. Kraken rum is a rum. It was a Caribbean rum, I don't know. But it's rum, and it was inspired by Kraken, right? The octopus off of, I'm blanking out here, but it was the octopus, okay? And when they launched with Kraken rum. And immediately the first year, they spent like $13 to $15 million in marketing their brand, to launch their brand. Now, it was 2013, and since then, they have, in the last 7 years, okay, we're taping this in 2019, they spent a lot of money in marketing, okay, conceivably, right? Let's say they spent $10 million each year. That could be $70 million. Okay, let's just use a number conservatively. Let's say they spent $50 million, okay, in marketing. Now, what happened is that another company came along and acquired Kraken.com. Now, this company was a crypto exchange company. Now, the last thing in the world, okay, Kraken Rum is thinking is that, hey, like, who's this crypto? They're not going to get big. I mean, we're putting all this money into marketing, and we're going to own the message for Kraken, okay, because we're Kraken Rum. And we're going to get momentum behind our brand. And that's good. I don't know the first couple of years if they were able to achieve that or not. But they're probably looking at the crypto and saying, what is this crypto? Come on, crypto's not going to be big. Well, fast forward, crypto is massive today, right? I mean, billions and billions of dollars are poured into crypto. And Kraken.com is the Kraken crypto exchange. Now, in my experience calling on the liquor industry and the spirits industry, they just don't value domain names for their brands. Okay, so I mean, if they had the opportunity, I don't know, but I could see them very realistically, if they had the opportunity, just passing and saying, you know what? We don't need it, right? We don't need it because we're Kraken Rum, and that's fine. We're going to drive everyone to Kraken Rum. What happened is that now if you go to search and you're searching Kraken, I'd say go and do it. What you'll see is that Kraken Rum barely even shows up. Depending upon the day, it'll be on the second page, the third page, may make it to the first page, who knows. But every majority of the momentum is for Kraken Crypto Exchange. Now we call that global positioning, okay? Kraken Rum doesn't own the global positioning. The global positioning is who owns the global, the macro view, in essence, for Kraken. And that's Kraken Crypto Exchange because they own Kraken.com. Okay, they put momentum and life behind their brand. Also, Kraken is great because as far as crypto exchange goes, there's a lot of crypto exchanges out there, and it's one word. It's defining it's a cool brand, and so industry position. They also own a great industry position amongst their peers. So, how does this impact branding and marketing? Well, guess what? Back to that number, they spend $50 to $70 million in marketing. Now think about that, okay? That's just conceivable. Let's just say it's that amount, right? Not including the reps out in the marketplace and all the other goodwill that they had. And, if you go to someone today, some of the younger people today, and you say, hey, listen, when you think of Kraken, what do you think of? It's like Kraken Crypto. Kraken Rum's not even on their radar. And so what happened is that all that money that they poured in, it may have had a return. Okay, we call it direct response marketing. Maybe it had a quick return and they got money out, but that was it. It stopped. There was no compounding effect to their marketing. Because what happened is that they actually had a halo over to the Kraken Crypto Exchange. Because by default, once a customer has and has a relationship with the .com and they see your brand, well, guess what? They're forever saying, okay, now this is Kraken Rum, not Kraken.com. So in essence, they have to talk about your brand in a negative. Okay, in a negative. Now, that's the brand and the marketing. Now, think about this. They spent maybe 50, 70, let's say they even spent $25 million. If they could go back today and they could acquire Kraken.com for $250,000, $500,000, $1 million. And if they could keep Kraken Crypto Exchange from launching and controlling the global positioning, and when you type in Kraken, guess what? They control the positioning for Kraken Rum. Do you think they'd do it? Yeah, of course they would do it. They would do it in hindsight. And so listen, the same thing happens with your brand. The same thing happens with what you're building. If you allow this domain to be out there and to be acquired by one of the other brands, okay, in most industries, there's multiple brands that have your keyword if it's a great keyword domain. If you allow that to happen, they then control the positioning. What's the risk to your brand? What's the risk to your marketing? What's the risk to this, just the compounding effect to your marketing? Okay, your marketing is short-lived. It's direct response. It's in, it's out. Yeah, you make your money. Now relate that back to other brands, this thing we call brand equity, who own the positioning and who are building it and investing in it. And there's a compounding impact to their brand. Okay, you think of an Apple. They put a little bit in and it goes a long way. Do you see what I'm saying? Do you understand the positioning and why domain names are important? There's a real impact. Now, the beauty of domains is that in the beauty of this conversation, there's a number that you have. And what's your number, right? What's the number that you have? And that's what we're trying to get to. And that's what I'm trying to get to when I reach out on domain names, because there's a real number for your domain. Now, let's go back to branding and marketing. Okay, how do you find that number? How do you find that number? Well, when Hive Teams, when they first launched, when they first came out, they were hiveteams.com. And they did an interview with Names Pros, James Isles, pretty cool. Check it out if you get some time. But the essence of this is that they launched with Hive Teams, and then they had the opportunity to acquire hive.com. I don't know what the price was. Imagine it was in the six figures, but they acquired hive.com. And guess what? Like overnight, they saw a 40% increase in their traffic. Now, guess what? Guess what? Okay, just by doing nothing. Now, since then, the time that they have launched, there has been, like right now, if you go to Crunchbase and you type in Hive, anything with the organization with that description, there's like 12 to 14 companies that have raised over $1 million and have Hive in their brand. Guess what? They'll never control Hive.com. They own it. It's off the market forever. What's the risk of those other brands that launched and they had the opportunity and passed on it? You know, Carrot.com is another great example. They launched on Carrot, and what they've found is that he had the epiphany. He liked the brain, liked the domain, liked branding. I think he put some offers on it, tried to get it, wasn't able to get it. Another company launched on it. They went under, and so he had another opportunity. One of the epiphany moments, he was at a trade show, and he's like, 50% of the people came up to me and said, "Hey, we love On Carrot." And he's like, "What? Like, that's my domain name. That's not my brand." And he's like, yeah, we've got a major problem. We have a branding problem. Okay, 50% of our customers thought we were On Carrot. Now listen, if he was never able to acquire Carrot.com, he would have a major problem, okay? They call themselves their brand Carrot. They were On Carrot. That was their domain name. But here's the thing that happens is that let's say you are, I'm going to leave it there, okay? There's like, you can look at either side of the equation, okay? So, I mean, maybe they were On Carrot and 50% thought they were Carrot, right? Because of the confusion, the branding. But in this case, they truly were. I mean, their brand was Carrot and their domain was just On Carrot. And so there was this massive dilemma because like their branding wasn't working. What they were putting out there wasn't working. That's impacted branding. And so the equation here is like, what's your number? If it's 40% increase in traffic, what does that mean to you? What does it mean to your bottom line? Now, I don't know what that 40% was just confusion factor. I don't know if that 40% was other companies actually putting, it was just creating simplicity and clarity to their own marketing, okay? Or if it was these other companies actually the halo effect driving traffic to hive.com. But it doesn't matter, right? I mean, at the end of the day, they had a 40% increase. Okay, now is that a good number? I don't know. That's going to depend upon your industry, depend upon your brand, depend upon your domain name. But what I do know is that there's a number. Now, when Overstock rebranded to O.co, they saw a 61% decrease in their traffic. A lot of things going on there, okay? They were Overstock and they had the other brand, but in essence is that people thought it was O.com. They went to O.com. O.com was not available for acquisition at that time. It is now. I think it went to auction. But yeah, 61% decrease. Okay, you look at teamwork.com. They did several different interviews. Really cool software, cool brand. They were teamworkpm.net, and they rebranded to teamwork.com and literally like tripled their business in 3 years. Like every year they kind of doubled their business. It wasn't compounding double, but it was like 100 to 200 to 300,000 or 3 million, whatever that incremental was. But they tripled their business by rebranding, okay, brand equity, clarity. So why is this? Well, consumers reward simplicity. They reward it when a path is effortless, when you create an effortless path to your brand. Okay, they reward that. So what's your number? What's your number? What's the impact this domain name will have to your brand? When you find that, one last story here, and that's Ring.com. Ring.com, when he launched, he was door bought. He went in front of Shark Tank, and he was just like, he had a great showing in front of Shark Tank. He actually turned down the investment in Shark Tank because they wanted too much. And he said, no, we're going to go this alone. I think he did have some other investors in it at that time, or he was getting some other investors in it. And after Shark Tank, they just had it was just phenomenal for him because it gave him all this visibility, and they just sales were taking off. At the same time, they had a product. They got their product down perfectly, the solution down perfectly. And so they were just business was just really taking off. Now at the time they were Doorbot, and their domain name was GetDoorbot. And the question was asked me. He said, "Listen," he goes, Jamie, why didn't you rebrand to Doorbot.com versus GetDoorbot? And he said, "Listen," he said, I didn't want to go from super crappy, okay, to just crappy. Okay, that was GetDoorbot to Doorbot. He goes, if I was going to make a change, we were going to go from super crappy to elite, to the best possible version, the best possible possibility for our brand. Now that happened to be Ring.com. So he went out and, as he was having this growth, he said, hey, listen, if I'm going to create a company that's elite, the company that's going to be the best, the company that is going to dominate the space, I need to have a phenomenal brand, a brand that's going to be able to really encapsulate what we do in the mission. And so he rebranded to Ring, and he actually went out and acquired Ring. I want to say he got it for $1 million. Different reports I've read said that he spent his the last $250,000 in his account. I think that was just the cash that he had because he was doing well, the trajectory was up. But he spent that to buy Ring. And it's interesting because when he went in front of his investors, and they're like, Jamie, he didn't tell his investors he was going to buy it. He just went out and bought it. He's like, hey, just ask for forgiveness when it's done. Now, when he went back to his investors and he said, hey, by the way, I bought Ring.com. Well, listen, they were kind of freaking out. What do you mean you bought it? You bought it for $1 million. What are you doing? And he goes, no, hold on a second here. Let's just look at our numbers. He said, listen, conservatively, worst case, right? Oh, let me backtrack here. So, all of investors said, okay, great, okay, got it, Jamie. Let's look at the numbers. He said, they all agreed that there would be an impact to the brand. There would be some positive numbered impact to the brand. Now, he said, when he looked at the numbers, he said, listen, conservatively, let's say this only has a 1% impact to our brand. Okay, 1% impact. Would it be worth it for us? Would we have it pay off in 5 years? 1% impact to revenue. And he's like, and they all looked at the numbers and said, well, okay, yeah, conservative 1%, yeah. Okay, they all breathed a sigh of relief and said, yeah, this really is a great investment because over 5 years, if we get just 1%, right, the conservative estimate, it will have paid off for itself. Well, guess what? He blew the numbers out of the water in I think a year. I mean, they just had such phenomenal growth because everything came together. They own the brand, they own the positioning, they own the marketing, and they just made it effortless for their customers, okay? So it wasn't just the domain name, but it was the combination of what we call brand equity, okay? And your domain name is your brand, and it's the foundation for brand equity today. It's one of the foundational elements for brand equity today. And so he said, yeah, wow, it was definitely worth it, okay? So in this case, what is that worth to your number? What's it worth? If you had a 3% impact to your revenue, or 5% impact your revenue, right? What are your numbers? What's that worth to you? You see, there's a number that is worth to your company. And when you figure that number out, then you can make a logical conversation. Okay, you can make a logical decision. But here's the thing, your domain name is not going to be around forever. Domain names we broker, listen, it's my mission to sell a domain name, and I'm going to sell it. Whether you buy it or your competitor buys it or a different brand buys it, it's going to sell. And so what the question comes down to, hey, are we going to own this? We know that there's an impact to our company. Here's the low, here's the high. Are we going to buy this? Or are we going to let a competitor buy this, another brand buy this? And is it worth the risk to our brand? Okay, because there is a real risk to your brand. Couple different thoughts for you, right? What's the number? What's the number? In Jamie's case, the domain was worth, when he sold his company, to $1 billion to Amazon. He's like, yeah, the domain was worth $45 million, okay? That was maybe the true number. I think it was worth more than that because brand equity is just it's hard to put a number on brand equity. But I can tell you this, Amazon overnight could have reached out to their supplier base and could have knocked off Ring.com, literally had it probably to the spec in front of them within 1 week, launched in a different brand, but they didn't. They didn't because the brand equity that he was able to build, the momentum that he was able to build. And so I said, hey, the domain alone is worth $45 million, $40 to $45 million. Okay, domain alone. Okay, that's the number. That's the number. What's your number? Find your number. Truly, that's really my challenge, and that's what I reach out. That's what I say is that find your number. Listen, I've got some cheat sheets. So if you're listening to this and you're a marketer saying, hey, Chris, I don't know how to look at this, reach out to me. I have an Excel sheet. I have more examples I can give to you on domains, the impact of domains. But in the end, you got a number, and then you got a number. Well, I'm going super long, 20 minutes. Okay, hope you enjoyed this. And listen, if you have any questions, reach out to me. You can find me at chriszuiker.com. You can find me at mediaoptions.com. You can find me at YouTube channel. You can find me at LinkedIn. Reach out, ask your questions, and find your number, and share this video up if you found any value in it.